Hi, this is Alex from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today's book is Bambi for 1989. So let's get started. Scourge stretched and yawned as the sun rose over the forest, and its first ray lights touched the top of the big tree where he lived. It was springtime. Leaves was sprouting everywhere, and someone was shouting at him, shouting at his neighbor, the owl. "Wake up, friend owl," said the exciting voice. "Hey, what's going on here?" grumbled Owl as he hopped onto a tree branch and looked down. A young rabbit sitting on a fallen tree shouted up at him. "It happened. The new prince is born. We're going to see him." Owl blinked sleepily and then flew off after the rabbit. Score scampered down the tree and told a field mouse the good news. The new prince had been born, he said. The mouse told the raccoon. The raccoon told the mole. The mole told the possum, the quail, and ranch. Soon every animal in the forest was on its way to see the new prince. "Quick, quick," twittered two flying birds. "Hurry, hurry," repeated the raccoon. He's been born," they all sung. Everyone crowded around the, the fic trying to get a glimpse of the little fare sleeping next to his mother. "Isn't he precious?" whispered the bluebird. "Oh, mine," squeaked the woodpecker. Hissed the raccoon. "Don't wake him. You're to be congratulated," boomed Owl. "Congratulations, congratulations," said all the animals. The doe lowered her eyes. "Thank you very much," she said. The fowl mother gave him a tender care. The fowl opened his eyes and looked around. "Wake up, we have company," said his mother. "Hello, little prince," said the animals. The young rabbit hopped up to the new fare and looked at him closely. "What you gonna call him?" he asked the doe. "I think I'll call him Bambi," she said. "My name is Thumper," said the rabbit, and he thumped his hind leg to show how he got his name. For a moment, Bambi looked a little frightened. Then he tried to stand. At first, his legs wobbled. He could stand straight and strong. As Bambi got older, he and Thumper walked along the leafy path of the forest, finding new surprises every day. The forest was filled with animals, and they all stopped to visit the new prince. Mother Quail brought out her new family to see the young fowl. Mother Possum saw Bambi coming down the forest path. "Good morning, young prince," she said. "Good morning, young prince," caroled her baby. Bambi stopped and tried to look at them. He turned his head around so he could see them upside down. There certain meant there certain was many different kinds of animals in the forest. Thumper showed Bambi all sorts of new things and told him their names. "Those are birds," said Thumper. "Birds. Bambi repeated. When a butterfly landed on Bambi's tail, he proudly called out, "Bird, bird." "That's not a bird," giggled Thumper. "It's a butterfly." The butterfly flew into the path of flowers. "Butterfly," said Bambi, nosing the flowers. Thumper giggled again. "No, Bambi," he chuckled. "That's a flower." When Bambi bent down to sniff the flower, he found himself nose to nose with another animal. "Flower," he called proudly. Thumper bust out laughing. "No, Bambi, that's not a flower. It's a skunk." "Ah, he can call me Flower if you want," said the little skunk silently. A sudden clap of thunder sent the little skunk back into the flower. "We better get home," said Thumper, as they both ran for cover. Bambi nested close to his mother under the thick while the gentle rain fell on the forest. Thumper snuggled deep in his warm barrel. The squirrel in the trees wrapped himself in their big furry tail, and the little birds in the nest huddled under their mother wings, which she spread over them like a big umbrella. One day, Bambi's mother took him to the meadow. "What's a meadow?" asked Bambi. "It's a wonderful place," said his mother, "and I think you're big enough to see it now." Bambi followed her to the edge of the forest, where she made him wait. "You must never rush out on the meadow," she told him. "There might be danger. The meadow is wide and open, and there are no trees and bushes to hide us. We have to be very careful." When she was sure that it was safe, she stepped out onto the meadow, then called for Bambi, and together they raced through the grass just for fun. Bambi's mother came to a stop and lowered her head to eat the sweet meadow grass. Bambi nibbled a few blades, but it did not taste good to him, so he left his mother to join the rabbit family, who was happily munching a mound of clovers not far away. "Eat the flowers," said Thumper. The grass the grass stuff tastes awful." Bambi pushed his nose deep into the clover, and suddenly something sprang out and landed on a rock. Bambi followed it and put his nose down next to it again. "Watch out," it croaked, and disappeared into the pond. "That's a frog," said Thumper. Bambi put his nose down next to the water to look for the frog. As he bent over, he saw another frown exactly like him. "What's that?" he asked. "It's only you," giggled Thumper. "It caught a reflection." As Bambi stared at his reflection, he saw another frown looking back at him. Now there were two reflections in the pond. "Hello," said the reflection. It was a baby doe. "My name is Feline. Would you like to play with me?" she asked, turning suddenly. She ran through the meadow, hoping Bambi would follow. Bambi began running too, but in his excitement, he tripped and fell in the water. Feline turned around to look for Bambi and saw him sitting in the pond. "Come on, Bambi," she coaxed. "Play tag with me." Soon Bambi and Feline were playing happily together, chasing each other around their mother as they had always been friends. Suddenly they heard hoofbeats A herd of stag came gobbling around the meadow, led by the great prince of the forest. The great prince turned and looked straight at Bambi. Bambi drew closer to his mother. He looked at he looked at me, he said. Yes, I know, said his mother. He's your father, and everyone respects him for all the dares. Not one had lived half so long. He's very brave and wise. That's why he's known as the great prince of the forest. Bambi lowered his eyes, but could still feel his father's gaze. He felt small compared to his magician stag. With his great antlers, he silently hoped that one day he would be strong and wise as the great prince. The silence was shattered by frightening noises of a gunshot. The great prince raised his head and shouted, "A warning! Man is in the forest!" he cried. The herd of stags thundered past Bambi. Bambi shrieked, "Mother, where are you?" He could hear his mother calling, "Bambi, Bambi." All the other animals were running from the meadow, and Bambi ran with them. Soon he heard his mother's voice behind him, urging him on. "Bambi, hurry, hurry." Another shot rang out. It seemed to get in closer. Bambi ran as fast as he could, but he was getting tired. "Faster, faster," shouted his mother. "Follow me, son," said a voice. It was the great prince, and he led them to safety of a dense thicket. Bambi and his mother stayed there until they could no longer hear the thundering noises of the gun. Soon the forest was quiet again. When Bambi's mother was sure the hunters had gone, they came out of the thicket. The great prince had vanished. "Where did he go?" asked Bambi, as his mother led them back to their home in the heart of the forest. "I don't know," said his mother, "but I'm glad he was there." One morning, Bambi woke up to find the water had turned white during the night. Every blade of grass was covered with a cold white coat, and so was every tree and bush. "It snowed," his mother said. "You can step on it." Bambi heard Thumper calling from the frozen pond. "Come on, Bambi," he cried. "The water is stiff." Bambi raced through the snow down to the edge of the pond and stepped out on the ice, but his front legs shot forward and his back legs slipped from beneath him. Down he went with a thud. Thumper slid up to him. "Maybe we should play somewhere else," he laughed. Bambi and Thumper had a nice time playing in the snow. They raced up and down the icy hill until they fumbled into a snowbank. They could hear a faint snoring from beneath the bank, where their friend Flower was sleeping in his den. "He's hibernating," explained Thumper. "Clunk always sleeps right through the winter." Winter was a lot of fun, but as time went on, there was less and less food. All the animals was hungry. The squirrel had stored food, but as winter wore on, even his supply grew short. Bambi and his mother would paw the ground looking for plants or grass under the snow. And when that was gone, they would eat the barks from the trees. One day, Bambi's mother found a few blades of new grass. As Bambi nibbled hungrily, He lifted her head to listen. Then Bambi heard a shot. It was Man again. Run for the fick, Bambi, his mother cried, and don't look back. There was another shot from Man gun. Bambi ran, heart beat pounding, until he reached the fick. He waited, but his mother never came. Instead, the great prince appeared beside him. Your mother cannot be with you anymore, he said. Now you must be brave and learn to walk alone. But Bambi looked sadly back at the fick once more, then followed the great prince into the forest. At last, the long winter was over. The snow melted, and everything began to change. Flower was blooming, and the trees were tipping wet leaves and buds. Flower the skunk awoke from his long winter sleep and came out of his den. Thumper sat underneath a tree, thumping his foot. The bird tweeted excitedly overhead as Bambi saw a handsome buck sharpen his new antenna on his head. Hey, hey, stop that racket, called Owl. Shoo, scat, can't a body get some sleep? He shouted, trying to put his head under his wing. The tree continued to shake, and Thumper thumped loudly, louder. Get out of here, shouted Owl. Then he looked down in surprise. Why, it's the young Prince Bambi. My, how you have changed, chuckled Owl. Turn your spot in for answers. It won't be long. Maybe your Twitter patter. Bambi didn't understand what friend Owl meant until one day when he was walking along in the forest. Suddenly, he wasn't alone anymore. Standing next to him was a beautiful doe. Do you remember me, Bambi? She asked. I'm Feline. She gently licked the side of his face. This must be the Twitter patter, Bambi thought dizzily as he followed Feline down the forest path. Bambi and Feline followed the path to the top of the hill. The grass was blowing in the gentle breeze. Bambi had never been so happy. He jumped up on his hind legs and bounded down the hill, leaping through the meadow and springing into the pond. Then out of the pond and around the meadow he ran with Feline, following them close behind. At last, tired and breathless, they stopped to rest next to the tree near the waterfall. Bambi was in love. He closed his eyes dreamily, but the sound of the deep voice made him open them in surprise. Not so fast, said another young buck. It was Rano. Feline is coming with me, he said as he ran between them and began nudging Feline down the path. She looked back anxiously at Bambi. No, she's not, said Bambi as he lowered his head and butted Reno with all his might. Reno turned and the two bucks ran toward each other, locking antlers and rearing up on their hind legs. Again and again they crashed into each other, butting heads and tingling antlers. Finally, Bambi raced at Reno. Locking antlers, he used all his strength to throw the powerful young buck to the side. Reno squeaked in terror as he fell and rolled down a bank into the river below. Beaten at last, Reno limped off into the forest. Barry watched him go, then called for Feline to join him. Now there was nothing to keep them apart. One morning, Bambi sensed danger in the forest. He stopped and looked about consciously. He climbed up to the top of a hill and saw smoke rising from a campfire. "It's man," said a voice. Startling, Bambi looked up to see the great prince. They looked down together. "There are many of them this time," said his father. "We must go deep into the forest." News spread quickly. All the animals ran to hide. Thumper gathered his family together in the safety of their burrow. Flower joined his family in their underground. Feline raced through the forest. "Bambi," she called in terror. She could hear the sound of dog barking behind. Feline stopped calling for Bambi and ran for safety of the cliff. But before she could reach them, a pack of hounds burst out of the bushes behind her, snaring and biting. They chased her as she made her way to the bare cliff. Once there, she struggled up to steep slope, the dog still snapping at her heels. Patton, no, yeah, Patton and out of breath, Feline was sliding backwards when she heard a yipe. Bambi had bust out of the forest and was charging one of the biggest dogs. The pack scattered, snaring and barking as Bambi held them back so Feline could scramble up to safety at the top of the cliff. As Bambi fled, the dog pack with, with Feline in front of him, the roar from the gun knocked him to the ground. His shoulder burnt with pain, and he lay there still, too tired to move. He no longer cared what happened to him. Suddenly, the great prince was by his side, urging him to stand. "You got to get up," he said. "You got to run." The forest had caught fire from man camp. "We'll be safe in the river." Bambi staggered to his feet and started to run. The forest was ablaze. Trees was falling, and heavily black smoke made it hard for Bambi to breathe, but his father kept him going. When they came to the river, they both jumped into rushing water and swam with all their might to the edge of the falls. "We'll have to leap over," called his father. They both disappeared over the edge of the fall, just as a huge burning tree crashed into the water behind them. In a sheltered glide down the river, Bambi and the great prince dragged himself from the water. Bambi called Feline as she ran to greet him and gently licked his wounds, his wounded soldier. "I'm so glad you're safe." That night, Bambi and Feline watched together as the forest burnt through the forest home. In the morning light, they could see that everything was black and bare. No leaves, no flower, no grass, but man was gone. One by one, the animals returned to their fire-blackened forest and began to rebuild their home. Thumper stretched out a new barrel. Flower repaired his den, and the mole to dug new tunnel in the church's earth. After winter, the forest came to life again. New leaves and flowers grew, and grass covered everything once more. Baby Mo poked their heads out of their soft earth. A new litter of baby skunks crawled out of the banks, and a new family of rabbit raced it around the meadow. There was something else new in the forest that spring. The squirrel looked up from the gathering acorn as Thumper raced by, followed by his new family. Wake up, friend owl, shouted Thumper. Wake up, cursed the new babies. Oh, what's now? Grumbled Owl, poking a sleepy head out from beneath his wing. It happened in the thick, yelled Thumper. Come and see. Owl flew after him. The squirrel scampered down the tree and told a field mouse the good news. The mouse told the raccoon told the mole told the possum, the quail and the wrench, and soon every animal in the forest was on its way to the fix. As they drew closer, the animal lowered their voice. Shh, don't make so much noise, said Thumper. Then he rubbed his eyes. Look, he said, there's two of them. Feline looked up from the thick. Lying beside her was the two frown. Prince Bambi ought to be mighty proud, hooted Owl. I don't believe I've seen a more look-alike pair. Thank you, said Feline, as she lowered her eyes and gently licked her two babies. Bambi stood with his father on a hill overlooking the valley where Feline lay, where her new frown. The old stag turned quietly and disappeared into the forest, while Bambi stood and proud, the new prince of the forest. The cycle of life in the forest had begun again. Thumper the rabbit and his family would grow seek on rich, fragrant clothes, and Flower the skunk and the little ones would feed into the bright field of flowers. They would all watch Bambi and Feline teach their frown the way of the water, just as Bambi himself had learnt them so long ago. So that was Bambi from 1989. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. We have another video coming out real soon.